Hi, this is Tanya Goodall Smith from Work Story Photography. Today I want to show you a little glimpse into the post-production process. So you've already had your pre-production planning meeting, we've done your photo shoot, everything went great. Now I'm going to load your images into my computer and develop them. So looking back into the past, when a photographer used film, they would have taken that film into the darkroom, developed the film, and then developed prints to be used in a usable format. So we're essentially doing the same thing with digital. It's just a digital process. So let me show you what I mean. Here is an image of me, actually. And this one's already been edited. So I want to show you what it looks like when it comes straight out of the camera. So let me set this, let's see, back to a raw image. So this is what it looks like when it comes straight out of the camera. It's kind of gray, kind of, not a lot of contrast. The colors are a little dull. That's called a raw image. And a raw image is just all of the data that the camera has collected onto the sensor, the lights, the shadows, that kind of thing, and recorded it onto the memory card. And it hasn't made any conscious decision about how that image should be. It's just all the data. So then that data comes into my computer, into my software, and then I, as the photographer or as the developer of this image, get to choose what that image will look like. So, and to speed up my process a little, I could go through every image and consciously choose, all of these things. Do I want this to look more blue? Do I want it to look more warm? Do I want to bump up the exposure or take it down? That kind of thing. Do we want to have lots of texture? No. Or no texture at all. We also don't want that, right? So, but I as the photographer get to choose these things. And to speed up the process, I use something called a preset. And presets are something you can create yourself. As a photographer, I can get this image how I like it and then create a preset. You can buy them. Sometimes the software comes loaded with some. I've got several here. And the ones I've been using lately the most are these visual flow presets. And I like a modern look for most of my images. So I use the Visual Flow Modern Pack the most. And I can see this white balance I do not like. It's too yellow. I'll tend to take my white balance down a little bit. So you see I started with the preset, but then I'm still going to make some adjustments. But you can see just going from that, let's see here. Well, that's not going to do it. Just going, let's see. I want to show you the raw image. No, that's not it. Here we go. The raw image versus just having that preset. Oops. See, this is kind of grayish, kind of dull. This has been warmed up a little bit. There's more contrast. There's more saturation. It looks a lot more developed. So that is the editing process, or at least the start of it, right? And the other thing so after I've loaded them into my computer, the first thing I do before I do any developing is cull down the images, because a typical shoot is going to have anywhere from 500 to 2,000 or more images. And most of my clients don't want to have to go through all of those images to find the great ones, right? A lot of times we're like testing lighting, or we just haven't gotten the right pose yet, and I'm clicking my shutter the whole time until we get to a great image, and oftentimes it takes several shots to get to the greatest one, right? So I go through the images for you and pick the best ones, or at least get rid of any where you're blinking or the flash didn't go off or anything like that. Some of my clients want to pick them themselves, or they want to have all of the bloopers, and that's fine. But most of my clients want me to do that work for them, because it takes several hours for me to go through thousands of images. and cull through them. So that process looks something like this, where I'm looking through, kind of comparing, you know, we might have, I mean, this one's out of focus. I'm obviously not going to pick that one. This one is, the crop's kind of weird, which we can change, but we're comparing based on certain things. These all, I think I already went through these in the past and got rid of any that were weird, but we're going through, and I have kind of a rating system that I use to cull them down and narrow them down. So the next part is going to be the editing. So that's where we use the presets, and I'm going to adjust things like exposure. We'll use this one as an example. I'm going to make a copy of it first. So in the editing process, like I showed you, I might adjust the white balance a little bit. I might adjust the exposure a little. I might take the shadows up a little bit or down. I might add in or take away some texture or clarity. Maybe the vibrance and saturation. I might take up or down the saturation of certain colors. Like, let's say I feel like my scarf is too bright. So we might take that down a little bit. Woo! We can also take the luminance down, which is the brightness or lightness of a certain color. So this can come in handy if, see, look, I just made that scarf a little darker. This can come in handy a lot when there's a lot of like green, like trees, grass. Sometimes the luminance and saturation and hue adjustment can make that grass look less neon and like harsh on the eyes. Also, like, what if we wanted to make this blue a little brighter or darker? You know, maybe your brand color is a certain color and we need to adjust the colors in this a little bit. So we can do that. You know, maybe we want to make these blues really stand out. We can do that here. Then oftentimes I might do some things that are going to like straighten up the walls. Like this one doesn't really have anything, but if it's kind of an architectural shot where there's walls showing and the lens is going to distort a little bit, I might change that. So that's the editing process. Then I'm going to go in to Photoshop for retouching. Let's see. And the sky's the limit as far as retouching goes in Photoshop. So I'm going to show you guys kind of typically what I would do. I mean, I prefer that my clients just love the way they look in their photos and be okay with it. And some of them are, you know, they're like, I want to be super authentic and just show my images as they are. But in advertising, we also want to be mindful of what we're communicating in the image. So that if there's anything in the image that's distracting from the focus or, you know, looks cluttery, we want to get rid of it. So right away, I know I want to get rid of these pencils. And probably what I would do for that is just crop it. Because that's the easiest solution, really, in this case. Let's see here. My Photoshop is being super slow. So I probably just crop out those pencils, right? Sometimes, if cropping it isn't an option, I can get rid of them with some other fancy tools. Also, these outlets here, I really hate, and I always am trying to get rid of the outlets, or like garbage cans is another thing I'm always looking for as we're shooting to get out of the image so I don't have to remove it later, because nobody wants a garbage can in their photo, unless you're a garbage collector. Sometimes I have to try different tools here to get rid of these. That didn't work. No? Okay, so getting rid of these bad boys. Sometimes, like I said, a certain tool works, sometimes it doesn't, so we try another one. And in this case as well, we could just crop that out. But I kind of wanted to show that some of that dusk there. Anyway, I would take more time to do this if I wasn't recording a video for you guys. So anyway, anything that's distracting, I'm going to remove from the background. You know, cords from the computer. That looks terrible. I would fix that. But anything like that. So now the focus is mostly on me, right? In fact, I might even, if I was being super perfectionist, remove this seam in this chair, just because I don't want anything that's distracting from my face. So that looks pretty good. Sometimes, especially with women, I know a lot of times they're unhappy with certain things going on with their face or their body shape, and we'll just change it. I want you to be happy and love your pictures, so we just fix it in Photoshop. Arms are often a sticking point for a lot of women. I try to pose you in a way that's most flattering, but oftentimes, you know, it's just a little matter of tweaking it a little bit, slimming a little. For guys, if you want to look bigger in the arms, I can do that too. Double chin sometimes is an issue, and I can just kind of tuck that in a little bit. I have a little trick I do with the double chin. And then sometimes the hair gets a little flat throughout the day. You know, you're at the end of your photo shoot. We might want to puff up your hair a little. Or there's flyaways. That's a common thing I'll get rid of. Stray hairs. Okay, so you can see just that little difference in there. My chin looks a little funky now, so I'm gonna actually take my chin and just bring it down a little. Oh, why isn't it not working? Let's see. Oh, I know why. It's underneath the picture. There we go. Okay, that looks super weird. Let's try this again. Okay. Now, for the most part, I don't do anything this extensive unless it's bothering you. You know, you're like, my double chin bothers me in my pictures. Can you fix it a little bit? I'll do that. Otherwise, for the most part, I'm just, fixing hairs. I might smooth skin a little bit. Oh, I don't know if that really did anything. There we go. Just brought my chin down a little. Okay. So then, I've got some blemishes I might take care of here. You have to think too, like, how are you going to use these photos? If they're just going to be on social media, it's going to be this tiny little thing. No one's going to notice these little things, right? If we're going to put this on a billboard or the side of a bus, it's going to be blown up really big. A little blemish on the face could end up being, 6 inches wide or something. So we got to keep that in mind, as we're retouching. And that's why I ask you, how are you going to use your images? Because we want to keep those kinds of things in mind. I don't have a lot of lines under the eyes, but that's a common area where women especially will ask me to just lighten the shadows. We're not getting rid of your lines, we're just lightening the shadows under them a little bit, make them a little less visible. Sometimes if your eyebrows are really thin or light, we might darken those up a little bit. I can kind of add makeup to you digitally if it's needed. Sometimes people will forget to put their lipstick on after lunch or something, which in the case of your branded shoot probably isn't going to happen because we'll plan that in. But for headshots, Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So I just thinned up my face a little bit. We got rid of some plugs. I'll fix that later. And that's it. That's not a lot, it's just a little change to my face there. Actually, that kind of made me look like a totally different face. So there's a lot we can do in here. In fact, I could make myself look like a totally different person. But my goal is always to make everyone look as close to themselves as possible. I don't want you to look totally different. I don't want you to look 30 years younger. We're just polishing up a little bit, right? I'm not even going to save this. So that's the retouching process. Things we could typically touch up are, skin blemishes, like I said, the hair, this body silhouette, distracting things in the background. Maybe you have a tan line or something that we want to get rid of. Let's see what else. Yeah, pretty much anything that's, you want me to change, I can change it in Photoshop for the most part. So let me know what you guys think about how you want your photos to be both edited. You could have black and white, you could have a modern look, you could have a trendy look, and then what do you want for your retouching specifically. And I'll be communicating with you throughout the whole process, and we make it super simple. I never want anyone to feel stressed out or anything like that. during the process. If you've gotten your proofs and you're feeling stressed and you're not loving your photos for any reason, reach out to me, and we've still got that third step of the retouching where we can do a lot. So keep that in mind, and I'll be in touch.